every time I paint, I learn something new. I try something different. You'll even see differences in the texture that I use, in the compositions that I try, in the color palettes and things like that. I never get bored. That's not something that ever happens. But what has happened to my art is that it's suddenly become more valuable. Your art becomes more valuable when you've got a recognizable signature style, and that's just the way it is, you know, in today's art world. Hello, I'm Ciara Gilmore, and welcome back to my podcast, Light Between the Layers. And today we're going to be diving a little bit more into signature styles.
We're basically going to talk about, like you said, finding your signature
Mm.
style, but why do so many artists struggle to develop a style, and how do you finally find it?
So I get this question a lot, because artists, when they're diving in and they're finding their creativity and they're doing lots of different mediums like watercolors and oils and pastels, and they're doing portraits and animals and landscapes, and they're just enjoying that so much. Like, why would you want to settle on one thing, on one medium, on one type of style? For them, that feels constricted. That feels unintuitive for an artist who just wants to create and create and create. And the thing is that if you do want to be successful in our contemporary art industry, what people who are buying art want to see and trust that there will be a consistent, recognizable signature style. And the thing is that I was a bit like that in the early stages too. I thought, well, why are all these people doing the same thing? When I looked, it wasn't really the same thing. But what I was saying was the fact that I could recognize an artist's work because they had this signature, they had their style, a bit like what I was saying earlier about musicians, having their own vibe, their own style, their own sound. Um, and that's what you're seeing with that. But I think when you're starting out as an artist, you just want to try everything. Your creativity kind of meter is on 10, and you just want to go boom, 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 try, try, try. And that's a good thing. That's not to be, kind of suppressed or anything. And we all go through that. And that's really, really important, because that's part of the process of finding your signature style, finding what it is that you love to do, finding what it is that really lights you up, and finding what it is that you're really good at too, because that helps if you're really good at a certain thing. So if you're really good at portraits, go there. But if you're not that great at drawing buildings and you're good at portraits, and you enjoy them, well, then I'd be going for the portraits. So, but all of this eclectic kind of like creativity in the early stages is very important. Like, when I reflect back on my kind of journey, I started off with landscapes and oils, then I did cows, then I did wet felting landscapes, wet felting kind of florals as well. I tried my hand at portraits. I wasn't very good at those. I did animals, which I loved. And what else did I do? I did buildings in thread. I did embroidery, free sewing. I did needle felting. I did watercolors. Also did acrylic pouring, ink work, illustrations, illustrated stories that I'd written for children's books. I also did illustrations for children's bedrooms and sold those. So I've done loads and loads of stuff. But what I noticed is that when I was in that kind of like time frame of the 8 years that I did that business, which was where I was doing mostly the craft things, but I was also dipping into all these other styles. And I had a website. And if you went onto my website, you would think that it had 10 different artists' art on there, not my art, because they were all so different. And there was one common thread. And that was the color. There were vibrant colors at that stage, you know, loads of pinks and blues and greens and everything. They were really, really nice, and they were fun, and they were happy, and they were joyful. So that was a bit of a thread. But other than that, they looked like they were painted or created by different artists. So I did not have my signature style then. But what I was going through, and I can recognize that now, is that initial period where I was just tapping into my source of creativity and just experimenting with everything and trying to find the thing that I loved and that I was really good at. And I finally found it when I started painting abstract. And intuitively, I knew this was for me because I was painting something more than just things that I saw. I was expressing something that wasn't there. And for me, that was different. That was important, and that was part of me. I wasn't copying something that I saw and trying to copy it completely realistically, like a sunrise or dog or something. This was an expression of something that that was just my emotions, whatever. So that's where I started off. So artists, I can really empathize with artists starting out who don't want to find a signature style. I get this question all the time. Why would I want to get a signature style? I'm enjoying what I'm doing. I love doing lots of different things. I would get bored if I couldn't do lots of different things. And I thought the same thing when I was at that stage until I started diving into my style, until I started refining it and getting the consistency and the cohesion for my style and making it so that it is recognizable. And that was really fulfilling. But as I went on, I mean, if you saw the paintings that I did from the first year in abstract to this year, and even last year, the year before that, they're all slightly different. It's still evolving. Every time I paint, I learn something new. I try something different. You'll even see differences in the texture that I use, in the compositions that I try, in the color palettes and things like that. And in some of the tools that I use are different. So I never get bored. That's not something that ever happens. But what has happened to my art is that it's suddenly become more valuable. Your art becomes more valuable when you've got a recognizable signature style. And that's just the way it is, you know, in today's art world. And your paintings, if you're doing an eclectic mix of lots of different styles, you can still sell them. They're still going to be appealing to other people. But when you have that level of consistency in your style and that you start to become memorable, unforgettable, that's when the value of your artwork increases. If it is blending in, if it's forgettable, then it'll do just that. It'll be forgettable. People won't remember it. And unfortunately, even though it's really good, because we all know that just because you do good art doesn't mean it sells. It's about the memorableness of it, the memorability. I don't know what the word is. You want somebody to look at your work and not forget your name. And they go and they tell somebody else and they tell somebody else. And a gallery owner, if you want to get into a gallery, they're not going to take you if you've got 20 different styles. No way. You have to have a consistent, cohesive style. And it has to be stand out. It can't be the same as every other style. Even you could have a consistent style, but it's the same as everybody else's that's already done it. It has to be authentic. It has to be authentic. I think the process of discovering your signature style takes you to be to dive deep, as I was saying in the last episode, into who you are and to get that consistency. And I think what you need is the drive to want to do it. That's what you need. If you don't want to do it, you're not going to get there because it takes work and it takes deep reflection and it can be uncomfortable work and it can be frustrating work as well because you'll be going, well, I've been doing this for 6 months and I still haven't found my style. Where is it? You know, but But if you're somebody who's painting every single day, you're going to find it quicker than somebody who's painting once a week or twice a month. So there's that, that work. It's the work that you do to find it. And
You mentioned earlier that some people don't want to do the work,
yeah,
and you can see it.
yeah. So there's certain techniques and processes that you can do to discover. And one of them is, for example, I have quite a deep diving exercise where you're going into who you are as a person and your life experiences to help you to see what could be in there buried that you may not have thought about, that is really obvious to other people, but not to you, about yourself. And this exercise really helps you to bring those things to the forefront and then helps you along your way. Because it is not a painting exercise, I know that a lot of people might skip this because there are certain things that you just don't want to do,
And what
because
kind of things?
I just want to get my paints out. I don't want to, I'll do that later, but it's one of the most important things in my course to do. I remember when I was developing my style, I asked my sister, who's also an artist, to look at my paintings. And this is a great thing for anybody to do who's trying to develop a style, is because you don't have the objectiveness, ask somebody else to have a look at 3 or 4 of your paintings and say, "Well, what similarities do you see between all of these paintings?" And she was able to point out, I think, 3 or 4 things that were in all of the paintings. And this was at the crucial time whenever I was developing my style. So that was really useful for me because then I made sure that those things were included in each of the paintings.
And it's not a critique, it's just an
No, it's
observation.
an observation.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it was very powerful for me at the time. So that's another way that if you can't see how good something is, or details in something, like for example a certain type of a paint squiggle that you do every time, or that you always do these 2 colors, they're just your trademark colors, and you can't seem to do anything but that's fine. But that could be part of your signature style. Some people just paint in the same colors and it's beautiful. And they don't need to paint in anything else and they don't want to. And that's okay. But that's part of their style. So it doesn't, it can be as simple as a color palette and brush strokes or compositions. It can be lots of different things. But what it does have to be is authentic and consistent.
And you have to do the work.
And you have to do the work. Yeah, I do have a wee mini shortcut though in my course. It's not a shortcut, but it's like this exercise that helps you get there quicker. So yeah.
They have to buy the course to find out.
Oh yeah, they do. Yeah.
Don't give it all away.
No. I have a few wee exercises in there that'll get you there quicker.
Yeah.
And that's really good because once you start to see it a bit, then the momentum starts and you get excited and then, you start working more. Uh, Once, if you get frustrated and stuff, sometimes people can just give up or stop. But I love seeing the commitment from my students to really, really diving in and going there and being vulnerable and painting consistently. There's a few at the minute that are really doing so well, really, really well. And some of these people haven't even painted abstract ever before, and they're now selling. They haven't even finished the course, they're selling, they've got their signature style, so they're really, really quick. So everybody goes at different speeds, and that's fine.
Yeah. And how do you stay committed when it feels unclear or uncertain?
I suppose, life is can be tough at times, and it sends us things to distract us from our creative journey. And staying committed is just, it's like a personal commitment to yourself. You have to make the decision. You have to have wee chats with yourself and say, right, this is important enough. And even if I'm struggling, even if it's frustrating, I'm still going to show up and I'm still going to do the work. And I'm going to, if you're stuck, just take an afternoon and play in your sketchbook and get the joy back, the joy factor, the fun factor, because painting, the whole essence of painting is joyful. It's the I don't know what it is, but it's a happy place to be when you're sitting with paints and water and paper or a canvas. There's no better place, even if there's frustrating times. And just go back into, if you're frustrated with not finding your style just yet, you have to know that it's a long journey, and nobody is giving you a time deadline to have it by. There is no time deadline, only the one that you create inside your head. And when you keep thinking that you're behind, because you're not behind, then that in itself puts pressure on. Your style will come when it's ready to come and whenever you're fully exposed to what it could be. You know, whenever you do the work, whenever you decide, well, you know what, I want my art to be just like my memories of, you know, candy floss and ice cream at the beach, or my memories of, you know, music that I danced to in the 80s, or, you know, it could be anything. How do you translate that into paint? What do you do? You know, and how do you do that abstractly? You know, it's
This is the
even
challenge.
more interesting,
Yeah.
you know?
And that's the beauty of finding your style, because it's in you. It's unique to you. Therefore, when you're trying to copy someone else, you're copying someone else's memories or
Yes,
experiences or
it's so inauthentic.
yeah.
It's so fake.
Yeah.
It's so fake. And because you're so unique and you have had nobody's had your life experience or your memories, nobody is inspired by the exact same things as you. So no matter what you do, if you do it authentically and you really try and tap into that, it can only come out as something that is pretty unique.
And is it about embracing fully who you are, like stepping into you as a person?
It is, yeah. It really is. And that takes a little bit of self-trust as well. And I think that, well, the way my course is set out is the first phase is, it's like the techniques, the fundamentals, it's practicing all those things. So you get all of that down first. So you spend a lot of time building up your toolkit of skills and knowledge. And when you feel really comfortable with that, then you dive into the next bit, which is, what is my style? Where is it? Now, your style may be coming at this point, but it you kind of have to like get these fundamentals and foundations done first. By the time you're here, you feel really comfortable about painting, and yeah, and you're ready for the next step. And then the third part of my course is all about intuition and merging that, and lots of different tools and techniques to help integrate all three spaces together so it blends. But yeah, it is a journey, and there's nobody can say how long it takes you, and you also don't have to do it. You don't have to do a signature style if you don't want to. But it's certainly helped me. It certainly helped me, and it makes your work more valuable. It really does. And also, it doesn't mean that you can't change your style later on. It's like once you get established and you've got a name that people know and they respect your work, if you want to, you can kind of go off on a little sidetrack. You're bringing people along on a journey into another style. But when you do that at the beginning, you're not established. Nobody knows you, so that just looks random, you know. So it's like waiting for the right time to do something a little bit different. Thanks for listening to our episode, and I'll see you in the next one.